Cold calling. Ooh, the idea alone can send shivers down a sales team's spine. Cold calling is actually a great way for businesses to get out there, knock on some doors, and get their names heard. In fact, according to a poll carried out by Marketing Charts and cited by Forbes, yes, I do my research here, cold calling is the second most effective way to get business. There are a lot of ways that you can use data to make sure that you're effectively strategizing when it comes to cold calling. And that's what I want to talk about today. Some key performance indicators, KPIs, for cold calling and how to best utilize them. The first KPI we're going to talk about today is total outgoing calls. You have to take into account the organization of your sales team. For example, if you have SDRs whose sole job is really to cold call all day, you might want to take into account their outgoing calls per hour to figure out how well they're performing. But if you run a smaller business and your salespeople are wearing multiple hats, they're doing customer outreach, they're keeping in touch with clients, they're doing minor tech support and that sort of thing, you're probably going to want to look at total outgoing calls per week. Total outgoing calls is a great, simple KPI, but it's an easy KPI to cheat. You could, for example, have an SDR or a salesperson who is just making calls that last 1 second to any random number. That's why you also need to take into account average call time. That way you can see how long your team members are actually spending on the phone. The average call time KPI is something that's going to give you a little bit more information. For example, you can use this KPI to filter down to the first call made, and you can see how effective your sales pitch is. The next KPI is the rate of answered calls. You can determine when these calls are picked up. You can determine at what points in the day it is most effective to make calls and when people are actually responding to phone calls. And don't forget the conversion rate. The conversion rate would be total number of calls converted divided by total number of calls made. Through that, you can find out how effective your sales team is based on a very clear, concise number. Let me wrap this up on a point. Don't forget to actually listen to your sales team. Outside of all these numbers and metrics, they're the ones that are going to tell you what's working and what's not from their standpoint, and they're the ones out there actually making the calls. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it's really easy to get all these KPIs and data points from a platform like Ringover. Thanks for watching.